Welcome to week 2, day 3 of our e-learning. Performance task. I will need to be able to identify and explain the theme of a story. Also, I will need to be able to use text evidence to support my answer and elaborate more with specific details. In addition, I will need to be able to compare and contrast two different texts or themes. Finally, I will need to be able to identify first and third person point of view within a text. I will need to be able to explain my answer by giving keywords and evidence from the text to support my answers. Our focus words: yanked, feast, streak, model, studio, ruined, schedule, concerned, smeared, glorious, passenger, apartment, newspaper, market, biscuits. Day 3, essential questions. How can I answer some comprehension questions about the story? How can I identify point of view in the first and third person? For a short video today, we're going to be looking at a vocabulary video. It's about point of view. It's going to talk about first, second, and third person point of view, but our main focus is first and third person point of view.
Every story has a narrator, and every narrator has a different point of view. Which point of view is yours? Let's go! Everybody wants to know my point of view. First person is me, second person is you. Third person is he, third person is she. Everybody wants to know my POV. Everybody wants to know my point of view. First person is me, second person is you. Third person is he, third person is she. Everybody wants to know my POV.
Hey yo, knock knock, who's there? Narrator, narrator, who? Narrator, who gonna tell the story from a point of view? Every story's written in a certain voice. When you're writing, you need to make a choice. First, second, or third person, POV. The first person is all about me, or we, like we climbed the tree. I closed my eyes and I felt the breeze. I might be unreliable if I don't tell the truth. Now let's switch the point of view to you. In the second person, you're in a taxi. You're wondering how you got there exactly. The third person is he or she. He walked down the street and he saw the queen. She was dressed hip like it wasn't a thing. That's the third person, take it from him. Third person narration could be objective, omniscient, or from a limited perspective. Can the narrator see in everyone's thoughts? Narrating omnisciently like a boss.
Everybody wants to know my point of view. First person is me, second person is you. Third person is he, third person is she. Everybody wants to know my POV. Everybody wants to know my point of view. First person is me, second person is you. Third person is he, third person is she. Everybody wants to know my POV. All right now, check your notes. Tell me which POV is in each quote. I was born with water on the brain. That's
first person.
He looked up into Father Wolf's face and laughed. That's
third person.
We didn't always live on Mango Street. That's
first person.
Sophie closed her eyes and lay quite still. That's
third person.
Your feet are now stuck in green slime. That's
second person.
In the hole in the ground there lived a hobbit. That's
third person.
It made me so sick I almost fell out of the tree. That's
first person.
You're thinking this wasn't the way it was supposed to go. That's
second person.
My name is Katniss Everdeen. I'm 17 years old. That's
first person.
Everybody wants to know my point of view. First person is me, second person is you. Third person is he, third person is she. Everybody wants to know my POV. Everybody wants to know my point of view. First person is me, second person is you. Third person is he, third person is she. Everybody wants to know my POV.
In the next part of our lesson, we're going to focus on point of view. In your work packet, you have a page that's asking for first and third person. You can use this to help you with that assignment. If something's in first person point of view, typically where students use their spoken voice, in most cases, first person should be avoided. Here's some examples of pronouns that you may find as clues to help you determine if it's first person or third person. I, me, mine, myself, we, ours, ourselves. Usually these words are used in personal narrative where someone is telling a story about themselves. It can be appropriate in formal academic essays only when given specific personal experiences. Those are the connections that you're putting within your writing. For third person, it's usually a written voice. Here are some pronoun examples that you may find within your text. He, she, it, him, her, his, hers, himself, herself, itself, they, them, theirs, themselves. Usually, third person is in an academic writing, something that you would do in your writing assignments or writing tests in fourth grade or any other writing test you would do in any other grade. Let's look at your work packet. And in your work packet, you have a list at the beginning. It's asking these clue words, me, she, he, my, I, they, we, you, him, mine, her, them. With these words, I'm going to give you a little bit of time to try to type in your text boxes what you think the answers for each one of these could possibly be. Are these words going to go in first person? Are these words going to go in third person? You may not use all of the words. Only use the words that are appropriate for first and third person. Now would be a great time to press the pause button, and when you're finished, you may continue by pressing play to check your work. For words that we have that could be used for each of these, if you look in the first person box, we have included I, my, we, mine, my, and us. Us was not on the list, but I'm going to ask you to please go ahead and add that to your first person box. In our third person, we added he, she, him, her, they, them, and it. As we continue in our lesson today, we're going to do some practice assignments together. And with these practice assignments, we're going to be focusing on, is it first person or is it third person? We're going to read them together. And as we read them together, we're going to try to decide which is possibly the best answer. The first one. Identifying point of view. Number one, the story had us round the fire, sufficiently breathless, but except the obvious remark that it was gruesome, as on Christmas Eve in an old house, a strange tale should essentially be. I remember no comment uttered till somebody happened to say that it was the only case he had met in which such a visitation had fallen on a child. From The Turn of the Shrew by Henry James. So I want you to look at the key words. The chart that we just filled in, use that chart to help you decide, is this going to be first person or third person point of view? And then you need to tell me what clue words did you find from that reading. Please press pause at this time so you can focus on your work. When you're ready, please press play. If you're looking at number 1, it would definitely be first person. And our reasons why, we found the words I and us within the text. Let's look at number 2. I first heard of Antonia on what seemed to be an immediate or interminable journey across the great Midland Plain of North America. I was 10 years old then and had lost my father and mother within a year. And my Virginia relatives were sending me out to my grandparents who lived in Nebraska. I traveled in the care of a mountain boy, Jake Marpole, one of the hands on my father's old farm under the Blue Ridge, who was now going west to work with my grandfather. Jake's experience of the world was not much wider than mine. He had never been in the railway train until the morning when we set out together to try our fortunes in a new world. From My Antonia by Willa Cather. Take time to fill in your point of view and your clues. Press pause, and when you're ready, continue with the video. Based on what we just saw in that short passage, we've definitely decided it would be first person. The key words are I and my that were within the text. Let's look at number 3. It was the Dover Road that lay on a Friday night late in November, before the first of the persons with whom the history has business. The Dover Road lay, as to him, beyond the Dover Mill, as it lumbered up Shooter's Hill. He walked up in the mere by the side of the mill, as the rest of the passengers did, not because they had the least relish for walking exercise under the circumstances, but because the hill and the harness and the mud and the mill were all so heavy that the horses had 3 times already come to a stop. Besides once drawing the coach across the road with the mutuous intent of taking it back to Blackheath. From A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. Please go ahead and press pause, and when you're ready, press play to continue. Put what you think is the point of view, and what are your clues. For number 3, key words we found that helped us come up with this idea of third person point of view. In the short passage, it, him, he, and they. In the rest of your work today, you're going to be doing questions based off of point of view and theme from both stories, Zackie's Challenge and Me and Uncle Romie. You need to go back to both to help identify point of view from both and what were your clues that helped you come up with that answer. You're also going to need to think about theme from both stories, Zackie's Challenge and Uncle Romie. Once you get done doing the questions about point of view and theme from both stories we read this week, Then you're going to work on comprehension questions based on Uncle Romie, or Me and Uncle Romie. Go back in what we read yesterday and double check with your work and go back in the reading, see if you can find answers with specific details. The questions you're going to answer today for your comprehension part: what does James learn at the art show? And the second part, how does he learn these things? Think about when James was at the art show. What did he hear and what did he see? That needs to be included in your answer. Give me those details. Number 2, how do Uncle Romie's ideas about people affect his painting? That question is asking you. Yes, we know he does collage paintings. Yes, we know he's an artist. But how does the people he meet, the areas he goes to, how do they help with his artwork? Include that in your answer. Number 3, in what way has the author resolved the main conflict or problem of the story? It sounds a little confusing the way the question is worded, so listen carefully to the explanation. Number 3 is talking about the person telling the story. We know that the author is the one who's telling it because they wrote the story. But think about, what was the problem in the story? Was the problem solved? If so, tell me. So number 3, I need you to identify what was the problem in the story and how was the problem solved. Be very specific with your answers. Number 4, look at the images in the collage on student book page 242. That's the last page of the reading where James had made a piece of art for his uncle. Why are the materials that James glued on the collage good choices for a birthday card for Uncle Romie? I need you to explain, why are those things good choices for that collage that he's making? Make sure you take time and give me specific details and explain your answers. Number 5, how is James's collage, his artwork that he did, how is it similar to Uncle Romie's collages? I need you to be very specific. If you just give me a really quick short answer, it will be marked as incorrect. Be very specific on your answer and give me details from the text to explain what you're trying to say. And question 6, how does James change in the story? So I want you to think about James in our story and how does he change? Then the final part that you need to do today is you need to make sure you do a Venn diagram. And with the Venn diagram, the directions say, fill in the Venn diagram and put as many ideas as you can about the 2 stories. That's Zaki's Challenge and Me and Uncle Romie. You want to focus on the characters, problems, settings, that means where and when, point of view, first person or third person, and the themes of each story. You may go back into the text to help you with similarities and differences. You must have at least 3 ideas in each area. So you need 3 or more in the same area, 3 or more in the difference areas. You may type your answers. You can put number 1, 2, and 3 to prove that you have more than 3. So 3 or more is your requirement for this assignment. Once you finish with this assignment, you're going to get ready to do your last part, which is your focus words. With the focus words, if you printed out your packet, you can write directly on the packet and do the drawing part. If you're typing on your packet, you may type in the first box beside the number, and in the second box, you can put an emoji or a clip art to show what that word means. So you need to pick 5 of the 15 words, just 5. And you need to write, what does that word mean? And then you need to put some kind of an illustration, which means a short, quick draw in the second box underneath it. If you're typing on the computer, you can put some kind of clip art or some kind of emoji to show what that word means. Once you finish with that assignment, you have those 5 boxes, you have your time, and that should be most of your work. When you get done, take time to log on to Myon. If you log on to Myon, you will be able to read books that are already set as projects for you for today's work. And you also may work on any reading on that you may choose on your own. But also I need to make sure I remind you, your iReady reading and math, you need to complete 45 minutes each week. So make sure you're working on that time and make sure you get at least 45 minutes or more for reading and math each week. Also, I'm going to remind you, please do not forget about your social studies work that is listed under social studies. You may type directly onto the document, save it to your computer, and send it back in to me for a grade. Social studies needs to be completed by Friday because it will be counted as your social studies grade. Each week, social studies will be posted on Monday for you to complete by the following Friday. Also, you have a writing assignment at the bottom of your work packet. Make sure you start to take time to work on it because that will also be due on Friday. If you have any questions about your assignments, please take time to contact your teachers, and your teachers will do our best to reach back out to you and try to work with you on your questions and help guide you to the correct answers. Remember to send your work in once you've completed. Thank you.